Ready. Rio here. It is week 4 attendance. And believe it or not, that means we are approaching the halfway point. And I just finished grading the week 3 Learn Together. And I believe I've said this, but I feel it's important today to reiterate an important part. So if you look at my code before you write your own or before you submit your own, right, that you need to tell us. And the intention is not, if you look at my code, to use my code. And I know that in programming, sometimes that can be something that is really easy to do, is that there's so much code out there. And it's like, if somebody's given you the example, why not just use it? And the reason you don't do it is because what you're creating in your ability is the muscle part of your brain that takes a concept and creates code. Now, if you, and the key is you got to give it enough time to work. It's not, for some people, it's natural. For me, it's not. I have to spend a bit of time like coming up with the examples, like for the one for week 4 for Learn Together. I had to work on that last night after watching all the videos, because I watched the content, I code along with the content, I do the challenges, and then I spend some time thinking about examples that I'd want to use and then I have to code those examples up. And that process of doing that is what I'm trying to help you with, which is the idea of taking a concept and creating code that represents that concept. So, here's the deal. Just know that if you do use my code almost word for word, it's going to hurt you. And it's not just going to hurt you, but hurt your grade, but it's not going to help you. The help part is the part I'm trying to kind of hone in here, which is learning to do that on your own. And I know this feels quick because of the shortness of this class, but it just is also a matter of spending the time on the code ups and really challenging yourself when Andrew challenges you. And then as you read my requirements for the Learn Togethers, giving that some time. So I'm almost considering not posting my code for week 4, Learn Together, and just see how you do. But, I guess that's a little tough love that I'm considering doing that. So maybe what you could do on this reply is tell me what your thoughts are about that, right? So I don't know if I'll do it or not. You'll find out when you get to week 4. So here's the deal, though, and this is why this is probably the worst week to talk about this, is because there's so much heading at you, right? So you have the first develop it due by Wednesday. I've done a video for going over my code that I wrote, the email app. I went over that, and I went over the Dev Zero. So definitely recommend you watch that video. It's right here in Dev Zero, and it should answer most questions. I think the only question I saw last week that I may not have answered directly, and I think it was Shane who asked, is like, when I ask for additional functionality, will the UUID be considered additional? And the answer would be not quite, just because it's already something that has been covered, and really all you're doing is adding an index to I would rather see you, let me say it this way, I'd rather see you create some output that is unique to your app. Think about on the email app, like maybe when you output the list, when you put the index box, or for me, my inbox command is actually saying how many emails are in there, how many, or if you use the status, right? How many were new, how many were read, how many total. I mean, there's just some reporting that I think would be more beneficial, that I would consider in that category. Because I showed how to do a simple index this week, and several of you know I noticed use mine, right? And that kind of goes, we're full circle now back to why you give good code examples. But good code examples are really just there to help you see how you would do it. And actually, I think was it Eduardo, I think, did a night he came up with his own unique way of doing an index. So, the idea is see how somebody else does it, but then come up with your own process. So let's circle back around to is your UID. Just using it, implementing it, I wouldn't consider that full points. I would give you consideration for sure when I'm grading that aspect of it. So look at Dev Zero. Again, ask me any questions. I've already said which one you could reply to. So now you have two things. The other thing is develop at 4 or learn together 4, which is the next night, right? And probably what is even more time consuming, like we have a lot of things this week, is the develop it, but is also the code review. And I talked about this already, is that, oh, and by the way, let me just say this real quick. On section 6, you can actually forego 41. Like if you don't want 41, and if you have time, I think it's worth it. But what I would say is that, that's one of those that watching the implementation of an HTTP server without the service of something like Request is a good thing to know. But in our compressed time period, a lot of important stuff happening this week, I would forego that one if time is an issue, which I suspect it will be for everyone this week. Okay, so that's it. Week 4, again, almost halfway through this class. And what you're going to see too is that we started with a pretty good sized crowd, but each week we've whittled off several people. And that's kind of expected for a class like this because it is an advanced coding class. And if students haven't had any coding, this class can be overwhelming. So just know you're going to see a few less people in there, which means you should be able to get your code review session that you want. I noticed Hugo signed up. That's great. Now is a time. If you want, especially an evening session, they're only the day after it's due, which means you still have to submit that code to get full points by Wednesday night. Okay, maybe Thursday morning, but you got to get it done. All right, I think that's it. And hope you had a great Halloween. I know last night I was a bit wise when I recorded Learn Together week 4. I'm going to refine my code. That was actually really fun to do. That was a fun project to figure out because I had an idea. Again, I'm circling back around to these same concepts. I had an idea of what I wanted to do because I wanted to actually, not recursively, but in that vein, call the first part until I got the result I wanted, and then it called the second. So I implemented something different. I talk about it already, what options you have for that. And I'll have to think about if I'm going to release my code before it's due. All right. Peace out. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you later.